inside, please don't sit at seats with X's, and they'll come all the way down to the most open seat furthest down, so that people can come back behind each other in the aisle. Realize this might be a problem. Okay. That clock is slow as usual, but it's only off by an hour, so we can trust the minute hand. So, good morning, everyone. Quick logistical question. How well can you hear me from behind this thing? Okay. I'm wearing this so that you can benefit from possibly being able to see my mouth move. I know that is an issue for some people. So, I am Mr. Joshua Hoffbauer. I will be the instructor in charge of both the lecture and the lab for Physics 1000. And I'm very happy to be working with all of you this semester. As you come in, can you please fill all the rows down to the closest available seat to this wall? Thank you. I know there's going to be a lot of, sit at every seat without an accident. Terribly sorry. Obviously, we're dealing with some very interesting challenges at the moment. I used to be a student in PC. I graduated in 2014 with my physics bachelor's, and I have only been a teacher here this is the second full year that I've started. So I began working here last year. Combination of me still being relatively new to teaching here, and obviously the things that we're facing at the moment, means that how the class runs might be a little bit fluid as the semester goes on. How things work so that I can make this the best and most fair class for you guys possible isn't entirely solidified yet. And we're probably going to get strange announcements from the school that will further complicate things as the semester advances. In spite of that, my promise to you guys is I want to and will create a safe and effective environment for everyone to be able to do their work in, and I promise to do my best to allow you guys to succeed. And this thing is starting to fog up. Can you guys still see my face? Okay. Gotta work something out here. So, what I have for you today is we're going to talk about the syllabus for the course, make sure everyone has as much information as possible, how things are going to work, and we might get into our introductory review sort of material. So, before we get started with that, and this is going to be a thing I do very often, I am frequently, almost frustratingly often, going to ask, does anyone have any questions? And when I ask you guys that, I do legitimately want your questions, because if you don't understand something, I would rather you ask the question I would rather you ask the question now in lecture than go back to your room, be working on something, get frustrated, and be behind. Because odds are, if you're confused about something, someone else is too. Because as important as I think physics is, I understand that it's hard. It can be tricky. A lot of people aren't used to thinking about the universe in terms of these factors. So please, at any time, if something is confusing you, tell me immediately. Someone else is probably wondering too. And it helps me understand what you guys are having issues with, because frankly, I've never taken this class from your perspective. I came into this school as a physics major. I fully understand that probably none of you guys specifically have any interest in physics, just given the specific course that this is. Is that a fair assessment, I'd say? Okay. I understand that. Pardon me, gotta clear this thing off. Good morning. If you guys could try to fill every seat down this way, and then at the end of class, we'll just go out in reverse order. I came in as a physics major. I know that my exposure to this material is very different than yours. So, if you have questions, if I need to slow down, please tell me. Okay, I want to know immediately to be able to help you guys. And your questions are very good questions, honestly. They lead to some very good discussions in my experience. So I'm looking forward to your questions. I want them. So, all that said, before we begin talking about the syllabus, the class, and depending on how long that takes, getting into sort of our introductory notes, does anyone have any questions? It is okay if you don't. I know in my own personal education, I usually don't know what my questions are until after the fact. When you have them, let me know anytime. If you have questions outside of class, my email address, you should have all received an email from me within the last 12 hours. So you have my email, and you can please email me literally anytime. Yes?
So how do we know which lab group that we're in?
Well, okay, good question, good question. I'm going to pull the syllabus up on the board now. If my mouse will work. There we go. Okay, so some logistical information to help everyone understand that. Physics 1000 has 2 different lecture sections this semester. You guys are all conveniently in the E section. So this is the Tuesday, Thursday, Friday lecture. We meet at 10 and we dismiss at just before 11. So every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at these times, this is where class is. Unless for perfectly valid reasons you either can't or just aren't comfortable coming to this physical lecture hall, that is fine. This is just where the lecture will physically be for the students who are able and willing to come. If you are not able and willing to come, I am recording all of these lectures, and they will be available for you to view as soon as they are processed and put online. You can watch them back anytime. I also have previous lectures from a past section of this class. I might post if the announcements in them are not too out of date, because the content is all the same, but I'm telling them different things about what date the homework is due. So I'll see if those are still good as well. It's just the same material, but recorded at a different time if you also want that. Now for the lab section, thank you for your question. Now to get to that, there are 3 different lab sections, and which one you're signed up for doesn't really depend on which lecture section you're signed up for. On your registration, it'll say that you're in Physics 1000 EW, or EX, or EY. And the W, X, or the Y tells you what day of the week your lab is. So this is a lab course, and our labs typically will be once per week. You'll just come, if you're, again, able and willing to come to the in-person lab, you'll report to this room with your lab, with everyone else registered for that lab, and there will be an experiment. Now, again, sort of the quarantine nature of things means that the experiments might be a little bit different to normal. I'm still working out the logistics and figuring out what is and isn't possible, but my guideline at the moment is I might not be able to let groups of people handle the same lab equipment. So everyone will probably be doing their own thing with individual equipment, but you can converse with your fellow students, and that can help everyone kind of like a lab group. If you're, again, I'm still working out each individual lab as we go, but if you are signed up for the W section and you are able, willing to come into this room, our labs will be in here on Tuesday. If you're signed up for the X section, it'll be in here on Wednesday, and the Y section will be in here on Thursday. I lose my train of thought a lot, frustratingly, just to make everyone aware. The labs are scheduled for sort of a maximum run time of 1:30 to 4:30. They can be finished sooner than that. 4:30 is just the maximum amount of, like the maximum final point where I can expect you to be here. They can finish sooner than that. They are designed not to take you an eternity. So what I recommend is everyone just checking your registry, check what letter is attached to it, and then that'll tell you what day of the week you're supposed to be here. That said, we won't have lab this week. You should check your schedule to figure out what day of the week you're meant to be here. But whatever day that is, and I can help you figure that out if you have your schedule, you don't have to be here today, or sorry, this week. So figure it out, but starting next week, we'll be meeting here in person for all the things we need to do. I just remembered, I also have paper copies of the syllabus for anyone who wants one. The digital version is available on our Brightspace page if you would just rather keep everything digital for right now. The paper copies are here for those who want them. Let's see. Any questions before we sort of continue with course logistics? Okay. Generally, we'll have lab every week. There will be some exceptions depending on, if, usually my policy is if, school, if for some reason classes are canceled on any of these days, I usually say there's no lab this week at all, because I don't want one group getting ahead or behind the others. That to say, if there is not lab in a given week, I will tell you, okay? But generally there will be one, and exterior labs that don't require you to come to this room, if you are unable, are available. We will work out those details as they come. Please let me know if for some reason you cannot be here on a lab day, or for some external factor, just feel uncomfortable because of family issues. I completely understand. Now, before we get too much further into the syllabus itself, I just want to talk at least briefly about what physics really means and why it's important even if you don't plan on majoring in it. Physics is our best guess at how the entire universe works. A long time ago, humans began looking at things and trying to figure out how they worked. The thing is, humans are flawed creatures. We don't get everything right on the first time. Anything we produce is inherently flawed. It can be improved after the fact. Odds are something with it is wrong. So physics is a compilation of all of mankind's best guesses about how the universe works that have yet to be disproved. After generations and thousands of years of humans guessing and tinkering and experimenting, we have arrived at our best guess for how we currently understand things, and we're still improving it. But because it's based on our observations of the universe, because physics is just about how the things around you work, you guys already understand physics. You've been living in this universe your whole lives. You've been seeing physics happen around you the whole time. None of this is really new. You just might not have put words and numbers to it yet. But somewhere deep inside your brain is an inherent intuition about how physics works. You've seen gravity. You've observed centripetal force acting on your body as you drive. You've felt momentum. You have some baseline understanding of that deep in your brains, And all I'm going to help you do is understand what you already know. I'm going to help you put names and numbers to it so that you understand it better, and that'll help you understand, again, the whole universe as you continue on into your careers. And in general, understanding things like electricity helps you not electrocute yourself. So that's handy. Everything you do is going to involve physics, so I do think no matter what career path you have, this is going to be good information for you. I'm going to help try to tie it into as much sort of common knowledge, access things that everyone is going to interact with to make it as useful for you guys as possible. Let's see. So, physics is important. I'm going to help you guys understand it the best way I can. Any questions before we continue with everyone's favorite part of the course, which is just reading the syllabus? Anything so far? Okay. So, looking at this lovely document, you have the course name. I am Professor Joshua Hoffbauer. Nice to meet you all again. Brief disclaimer, because I get a lot of emails from people who have not met me yet. I technically do not have my doctorate, so I don't want to falsely advertise that I am Dr. Hoffbauer. I am not. I am just Mr. Hoffbauer. You can call me any combination of Mr. or Professor Hoffbauer. In the past, a lot of my students call me Prof. Hoff. Whatever you're comfortable with, as long as it's some variation of my name, I'll probably answer to it. My office is in Richardson 103B. Basically, everyone knows this door sort of down the hall and out towards the green, like if you're going straight to the cafeteria. That door in the middle there, if you're going out that door and you turn to the right, there's a little alcove there where my and Dr. Gagel's offices are. So I'm tucked away in that little alcove there. My door does have a number and my name on it. If I am in my office, I am available to you. If I'm in the building and you find me, I am available to you. If you cannot find me physically, please email me. The only reason I won't answer your email is if I'm driving or asleep. Let's see. And there's my email address. We have two other convenient links here. This is the YouTube channel that I'll be uploading most things to. And this is Dr. Rodecor's webpage. Dr. Rodecore is one of the professors with the physics department, and his websites very often have very useful tools on them. This is his Physics 1000 page, because every professor in this department sort of rotates out teaching what class each year. And he has listed there a lot of useful formula sheets and notes and a grade calculator for Physics 1000. So that is a good resource to have access to, which is why it's on syllabus. This is room Richardson 115. This is where class and lab are going to be. So keep that one in mind. This is just when all the classes and labs meet. Again, just check your registration to figure out what day of the week you come in on. I will help you with that because I can check through the back door which one you're signed up for. If you're unable to attend any of these meetings in person, that is fine. Everything will be recorded for you. You can watch it online. And if you do come in person, again, we will socially distance ourselves and masks are required. I've laid out this system in the physical classroom with the X's marking off seats you can't sit in, and we're going to try to, come in this direction and then leave in reverse direction so everyone can stay as far apart as they need to. Safety is my top concern. Physics is my secondary concern. Next, grade scale, just typical 10-point scale. And these are the different categories that will be going into your grades. So, we're going to talk about each section in a little more depth in a second, but just to briefly go over it, there are 5 different parts of the class. The way that physics department likes to handle things is the lab and the course are sort of attached. So you don't have a separate lecture grade and a separate lab grade. Your lab grade is just 20% of your grade for the entire class. So there's no lab final, there's no lab tests. You just do your lab assignments, your labs get averaged together, and then that is your lab average which is 20% of the course grade. We have about 10 different subjects and about functionally 10 different weeks to be able to learn them in. So there'll be about 10 labs, there'll be about 10 homework assignments, about 10 quizzes, 2 tests, and 1 final exam. So that means each test is about 20% of your grade, and the final exam will be 25%. What that means is, hypothetically speaking, if you got a 100 on everything and then didn't take the final at all, literally just didn't show up, you could get a 75 in the class and pass. I say this to bring up the fact y'all are going to be fine. I know physics is hard. I'm not trying to turn you all into absolute physicists. I'm just trying to help you understand the basic information that is important to sort of enrich your existence in this universe. I lost my train of thought for a second. Dang it. Oh. The way that I'm going to grade the way I'm going to grade labs, tests, and exams, I grade very heavily for partial credit, which means writing literally anything is better than writing nothing. If you absolutely have no idea what to do for a question, first of all, ask me about it, and I will try to help you to the best that I fairly can. Second, begin writing anything you know that is relevant to the question. Write formulas, write facts that you know. Start listing variables in the sidebar. Any of that is worth points, and honestly, writing it out will help you jog your memory and get you started on working the question. And if you just can't bring yourself to do any of that, write the script of the B movie. Literally anything is more points than nothing the way that I grade. Cool? So, all that to say, y'all are going to be fine. Don't worry. I promise. The only way to do incredibly bad in this class is just to not do it. As long as you attempt, I'm going to work with you and we're going to figure it out. Moving down this page, it does list a textbook, but this textbook is optional. You do not physically need it if you feel it is not necessary or if money is a factor. This is just a supplementary text that matches up with our curriculum and is useful if you want something physical to read or if you just want the extra text. It is not needed. What is needed, instead of requiring you to buy this textbook, what is needed is access to the Sapling Learning website. That's going to be sort of our online homework tool. So actually, here's so, this Sapling Learning is just sort of an online assignment tool, but it also has supplementary sort of text-like information. There's a database that you can look up when you're doing the homework questions. Like each homework question can link you to, an article about this topic. So, this is why we're using this as opposed to a physical textbook. We're going to be doing our homeworks, quizzes, and possibly even our tests through this service. And it's just to make it honest and upfront, if you haven't already got your account, it's $42 for 1 semester of access to the program. And that's your only required sort of textbook-like expense. Over the next couple days, I want to be helping everyone to access the class on Sapling. And basically, if you just go to the Sapling website, you can register for your account and then sign up for this class. So this is the class that will correspond to this section with all of the homework. Presbyterian College, Phys1000, Fall 20, Hoffbauer. You just need 42 dollars for access, make sure I'm the instructor, make sure it's with Presbyterian College. I've been working with the company behind this to smooth everything over and make sure everyone can access it. And once you're in, you should see a dashboard. Similar to this one. Again, it'll tell you the class at the top, and assignments will list here as I assign them. Generally, there will be one homework and one quiz per chapter. That usually means there's going to be about one homework and one quiz per week. That might change depending on if a chapter takes a little longer than others. But my general policy is I will never make anything due earlier than I originally assigned it. I will only ever push things back. I might move an assignment back to give you more time. I'm never going to take time away from you. Okay? But the assignments will post here, and you can click on them and begin them at your leisure. And now this is my version of the web page, so this is all of my old assignments that I'm going to be revising for this particular section. If I just open up the first one, just sort of show you what these will look like. So, each question, you'll be given the prompt, and some way or another, you'll enter your answer. And this particular question, you're just listing prefixes in these established blanks. Some questions, you'll be entering a number, and the machine has a very good margin brain for being able to interpret your numbers into the answers. And you have as many tries as you need. You can keep doing it over and over again. There will never be a time on a homework where it's just going to say, no, wrong, too bad, move on. Every incorrect attempt, you will be docked a small amount of points. So the only way to get a 100 on a homework assignment is to do everything right the first time. But you can keep attempting the question. I want you to keep attempting the question until you get it right. Because doing it repeatedly until you get the right answer is just good practice, honestly. So, for the homeworks specifically, for the homeworks, you have as many tries as you want. Please keep doing it until you get it. Ask me any questions you have. Questions about how to do the problem, and even questions like, I swear I did this right and the machine's not taking it. What do I do? And if there is a technical issue, I will work with you on that, because technology is not as smart as society likes to think it is. Computers are real dumb. If it does make a mistake, I will fix it. Don't worry. Now, we'll also be doing quizzes through this, and the only difference between the quizzes and the homeworks is the quizzes are shorter, and you only get 2 tries per question. And you only have once you open the quiz, you have a limited window to finish it. You can open up a homework and come back to it as many times as you want. As long as you put answers in before it's due, you can come in, change things, do whatever you want with it until it's due. A quiz, you have a certain limited window of time. You begin the quiz, the clock starts ticking, and then that's it. Quizzes are designed to take 20 minutes. I give you an hour, because I know sometimes you need to think, sometimes you need food, sometimes you have to go to the bathroom. And if I need to readjust how that works in the system, I will do that. I'm just making you aware of the distinction between the two. Now, I'm not going to make any assignments due on this website until I know everyone has accessed it, until I know everyone has their account set up and I'm able to help everyone get started. But this is the platform we're going to be doing them through. It's Sapling Learning, and the website is up there. It might also be found at the Macmillian website. Just typing in Sapling Learning should get you here. You should be able to open your account and log into the course just by searching for it. That said, I'm not accustomed to using it from the student end. I've only used it from the instructor end. So if you need help, if something is not working right, please tell me immediately. Sometimes it's even just an issue on Sapling's side. I've been talking a lot, and this thing retains my own hot air, so just a sec. Stay hydrated, everyone. I've been talking a lot, especially about this specific website. So, any questions before we continue? Okay. We're also about halfway through the period, and I've been talking for a decent minute, and I'm a proponent of taking quick breaks to recharge your brain. So, I'm going to let you guys be for a second, talk amongst yourselves, just relax for a second while I remind myself my spiel for the rest of the class period. We're just going to try to get through the syllabus and maybe look at the beginning notes. Also, I'm fine with laptops and computers in here as long as it's not disruptive to anyone else. It's your responsibility to learn, so do what you will as long as you can learn. So how's everyone adjusting to being back on campus? Well, actually, secondary question. How many of you are freshmen and or at PC for the first time? Okay, decent majority. To the returning students, how is it being back, all things considered?
I'm happy with it, so,
You happy with it?
yeah, I'm glad I'm back.
If I'm honest, I've taught half of last semester and summer over the internet, and I did everything I could for my students, but teaching them remotely just does not gel with my teaching style, because I base how I continue on everyone's facial reactions, whether or not they look confused, which granted is still about 50% obscure at the moment, but at least I can see your eyes. To the freshmen, how you doing? It's not usually this insane, I promise. Honestly, it seems like the intro process is about the same as when I was a student here, other than this semester specifically. I do hope that the rest of your time at PC is extremely pleasant as we keep moving forward together. And I hope that all of this is not necessarily putting a bad taste in my mouth about the school in general, because frankly every school is dealing with this at the moment. And I just hope that we're dealing with it the best we can. But I'm very glad to have you all here. PC is great, and I love being a student. And I'm glad to be back as a teacher, frankly. This kind of dream came true for me. I actually had physics in this particular room. So it's a little surreal still, actually, but I'm happy. Okay, any questions before we continue? Okay, so we talked about grades and sapling. So this is the topics list. This is just a brief statement about all the different things we're going to be learning about. There's sort of 3 separate phases of topics that we're going to cover. The first phase will be kinematics, forces, 2D motion, angular motion, and energy and work, power springs, gravity, momentum. It looks like the first phase is a lot of things, but they're all very interconnected. We're just going to keep going straight through them because it's literally just, I learned this is it, but with a little more, this is it, but with a little more. These first 10 things are all extremely interconnected, and that's why our first test is going to be on those interconnected topics. Our next test will be on topics such as pressure, buoyancy, temperature, and heat transfer. That'll sort of make up the second chunk. And I'm trying to keep each chunk made of relevant things to one another, so that our first test is all of the mechanical kinematic stuff. Our second test is all of the heat and buoyancy and temperature stuff. And then after that, that'll take up a couple of months right there. We'll have a couple weeks where we learn about waves and electricity, and that material will get added onto the final exam. So you'll have 1 test on forces and mechanics, 1 test on heat, thermal, materials, pressure, etc. And then we'll learn about waves and electricity because they are important. Well, it runs on electricity, and you're seeing and hearing me because of waves. So that material is important, but I don't want to try to cram in a test right before the end of the semester and Thanksgiving. So that material is just going to get shuffled into the final. Final will be cumulative the whole semester. And those are the individual types of things we're going to learn about. We again have my goal here is, again, to help you guys understand the physics you already have in your brains. You know this, I'm just going to have to put words and numbers to it. Class, the in-person classes, as best that we have them, will consist of, I'm going to have my prepared slide presentation for everyone, and I'm not just going to read them off to you. I basically just use that to put things on the board so that I don't have to write them by hand, and then we're going to talk about it one piece at a time. We're going to work examples together, make sure everyone has a good fundamental grasp of all of the material. These slides will be available to everyone. I'm going to post the finished presentation, the finished notes to the Brightspace page so that you can access them, look them back at any time. And class time, we're just going to be in here together as everyone is available to, working through these. If you're not able to make the class, again, you can view the recordings, you can ask, make sure everyone has access to the actual slide notes. So if you're not able to make it here physically, you can still go through the same motions, watch the presentation, go through the notes, and send me any questions you have remotely. I do think that being in lecture makes it the fastest way to get your questions answered, but if you cannot be here in person, it is completely fine. I have several people who will be joining us later for those reasons. So, just third time I've lost my train of thought in 8 seconds. It's not a good thing. So when you come in for a lecture, that's what we're going to be doing. Going over concepts, working practice problems together, answering questions. Both answering practice questions and also me answering your questions. In class, attend or watch. Ask questions, please. It is your responsibility to ask any questions you have because, again, if you don't understand something and you don't ask me until 2 weeks after the fact, it's going to be hard fixing that whole 2 weeks for you. I want you to ask as soon as you have the question. Do all of the assigned work. It is in your best interest to do the work because even though homeworks and quizzes don't take up a whole lot of your grade, go back up to the rubric. The homeworks and quizzes only make up a total of 15% of your grade, meaning technically you could do none of them, ace everything else, and get a B in the class. They're super unimportant for the actual grade, which I only tell you to mean if you mess up on one of them, it is not the end of the world. The homeworks and quizzes are meant to be low stakes practice. They are your best friend when it comes to being able to just work something, retry it if you get it wrong to prepare for the test. They are some of your best study tools. Do them, please do them, keep doing them until you get correct answers. It will help you learn. They're just a small part of the total grade so that they are low stakes, and that encourages you to keep trying. We're also under the honor code in this class, especially when it comes to anything that we have to do online. So remember that. I'm going to trust you guys with this so that we can just try to make this as smooth and beneficial for us all as we can. So, now the homeworks, we talked about sapling. There will be about 10 chapters worth of assignments on there, about 1 week at a time. The total homework grade will be worth 10% of your final grade. That means each individual homework, if there's 10 of them, is only 1% of your final grade. So if you just completely bomb one, it's fine. Everyone has an off week. Do try them. I honestly find opening the homework at the start of the chapter and just looking at the questions, even if you haven't learned any of it yet, even if you don't answer anything yet that first time looking at it, just opening it helps a lot when it comes to coming back to it. Just having the tab open, having read it before, something with the brain, as long as you've started it, it's easier to resume it. So, involving on sapling, you can use your books, use your notes, use the internet, use your formula sheets, which I will be providing. Use each other, please help each other on homeworks and stuff. The homework is just an open playground for practicing. So please work together. You can form study groups, you can form a group chat, work together. I encourage it, please. Yes?
Any type of calculator?
Good question. So, as much as I don't like to admit it, I'm a bit of a fogey because I've been using the same calculator for like 12 years at this point. This is tiny. He's an 83 plus Texas Instrument. Any model similar to this, especially newer ones, is great. You will need a calculator, but it does not have to be this calculator. I recommend this. It's the kind I'm most familiar with. But the things that your calculator absolutely has to be able to do are, it doesn't even have to be a graphic calculator, but it does have to be able to do, it has to be able to do order of operations. So like, it would be in your best interest to have one that you can enter like parentheses into. It needs to be able to do exponents, so squared to the third power, etc. And what else did I list? Not going to be doing sine, cosine, tangent. It doesn't have to graph. Oh, it should be able to handle scientific notation as well. So, who remembers what scientific notation means?
Isn't there like a six in the car or something?
Yes, exactly. So let's say we have 5 times 10 to the third power. What would this number translate to if I wrote it normally? 5,000. Very good. So 10 to the third power is 1,000, and 5 times 1,000 is 5,000. So this is scientific notation, and I admit it's kind of silly to write it like this when I could just write 5,000. But it's very useful when numbers are going to start looking like this. I saw a couple reactions there. The numbers are going to get large, I admit, because we're going to be dealing with things like the force of gravity between, when we talk about gravity, we're going to start talking about big numbers like the mass of planet Earth. At the end of the semester, we're going to be talking about the speed of light, which a useful constant to know. This is the speed of light in meters per second, 3 times 10 to the 8. Light is very fast. So, if your calculator can handle scientific notation, it can only help you. But if you're willing to do things slowly, one step at a time, any light-powered calculator will work. But if it can handle specifically, it needs to be able to do exponents. It needs to be able to do exponents. If it's able to handle parentheses and scientific notation, that will be best. Doesn't have to be this, but I like these. This is what I've been using since I was in middle school. Literally, same model, hasn't broken for, oh, that was 6th grade, so. Man, I'm old. 16 years. Oh my goodness. I don't like that feeling. Thank you for asking. So make sure you have a good calculator. And preferably one that you understand how to work. If you've never used this, I'm not saying go out and buy one. It's better to have one you're familiar with than getting one that's powerful that you've never touched before. But as long as it can handle these, you're good. All assignments, you may use a calculator. Please, you have access to your calculator. If you were working as a scientist, you would have your calculator, you would have your notes. No scientist is paid not to have those things. I don't know why people restrict calculators and notes, honestly. You will have your calculator, your formula sheet for literally every assignment. Don't worry about that. Formula sheets will be provided. They're already on the Brightspace page. I just wasn't able to get them printed yet. But those are yours to use for everything. On all assignments, technically, yes, answers for certain questions might exist on the internet. If you do find something helpful on the internet, fantastic. If it helps you learn, great. But make sure you're actually learning. If you just find an answer on Google and you put it in and it's right, then you didn't really do the question, and then you're in danger of not really understanding it when it comes up on the test. The homework is best as practice. Don't think of it as, I need to get this right to pass the class. Think of it as, this is my live fire exercise to make sure that the test isn't a nightmare. So, learning to swim in this context just means make sure you were able to get to the answer that you found. Cool? Quizzes, oh, no, I listed labs next. So lab, again, in an ideal scenario, it would be, lab is our way of sort of applying what we have learned to the physical world. Because in this class, in like the actual lecture, we're going to be talking about a lot of occasionally abstract concepts. It's hard for me to show you friction because you don't really see it, you only see what it does. And so labs are our best way to actually apply all of this stuff to the physical world, do physical experiments, and show you how everything actually applies into the real world. Ideally, for those who are able to attend in person, everyone will have their own experimental setup, and you can run the experiment, perform, and observe the actual phenomena, and we'll be working together to make sure everyone understands how those concepts translate into the real world. There will be about 10 labs, and labs make up 20% of your total grade. There's not a lab final, again, it's just your labs are averaged together to create your lab average, and that's 20% of the class grade. They are important, please do them. If you miss one and don't make it up, it's a 0. But you can make them up. If you miss one in person for some reason, you can either make it up in person later. I might be able to give you an online version depending on your quarantine or ability to show up status. Okay? I'm still working on, each experiment is going to kind of be a case-by-case basis in terms of working together and experimental setup. These are interesting times we live in, but I'll do my best to make sure everyone can accomplish all the experiments they need to be able to apply these concepts. And check with me if you need to figure out what day of the week you're signed up to show up for. I'm also not especially bothered if you have to come to a different section in a week. If you're signed up for Tuesday but can't make it for some reason, just tell me, and I'm okay if you say show up at the Thursday one. Which one you're signed up for is the one you have a seat in, it's the one there's absolutely space for you in, but everyone's running the same experiment. If you need to attend a different one, you can. If you can't attend at all, let me know, I'll give you an alternative. Next are the quizzes. Mechanically, they work very similar to the homework on sapling. There's just a couple more restrictions on how many attempts you get and how long you have to finish it in, but which is why I recommend finishing the homework first, get the homework to where you have worked through everything and understand it, then do the quiz. Quiz is the last thing you do every week, okay? And if you have questions in the middle of the quiz, please tell me. On the quiz, use your formula sheet, use your conversion sheet, use your calculator, all legal. Just the only thing you can't access is other students. Please work together on homeworks, but the quiz should be your best, your attempt at making sure you can do it yourself under a time constraint, even if it's not a very extreme time constraint. They're designed to take about 10, 20 minutes. I'm trying to tell the computer to give you an hour, just in case. That way it covers academic accommodations and it covers if you suddenly have to go to the bathroom. Tests. Tests will be cumulative for that specific chunk of the semester that they're based on. We'll have one test and these dates are going to be a little bit fluid as we go through the actual topics, but the tentative dates that I have set for tests are September 22nd and November 3rd. They're spaced about 5 weeks apart, and they will be adjusted if needed. I'm not going to give you a test you're not ready for. Make sure we have time to cover everything forward and review it before the actual test is given. Now, actually how I'm going to give them is still a little up in the air at the moment, because in the past, what I would do is I would get both sections of the class together in the same room, and everyone would just take it at the same time. And usually we would meet on at night, like after dinner, and everyone would have as much time as they needed. So you could just stay till midnight if you really needed the time, or just we're stuck on a question. The reason for additionally, if I give you as long as you can stay awake for the test, time and a half of infinity is still infinity. So that way did handle academic accommodations. Granted, it's not really super viable to have everyone gather together in one place at the moment, unless we can get like white laws or room to do it in. So I'm still going to be working on that, and I will let you know as the policy solidifies. Is that a question? Okay, sorry. When you're a teacher, suddenly everything that looks like a vertical post triggers your, is that a question brain? So, fun fact, if anyone ends up in academia. Tests, regardless of how they end up being administered, are designed to take an hour. I will give you far longer than an hour to be able to do it. Again, to cover everyone's accommodations, to cover if they're virtual, if you have to stop and go to the bathroom. We might do them on sapling. I might try to see if we can get white law auditorium so at least some people can do them in person. Things are still liquid at the moment. I will let you know as they solidify. I'm sorry I don't have any better answers at the moment, but the test will be cumulative to whatever, all the chapters preceding it up until the last test. It'll be about a month, 5 weeks spaced apart. You will have formula sheet, conversion charts, calculators, all of your resources, and you can ask me any questions during the test at any time. And I grade super heavily for partial credit. Again, leave nothing blank. The script to the B movie is better than nothing, because it will at least make me laugh. Draw a picture even, as long, literally 10 points because you wrote a blurb in each option is better than 0 points. Again, academic accommodations, please come to me with those. I'm more than happy to work those out with everybody. Just make sure I know about them beforehand. If you tell me like before the test, oh, I need this, it becomes harder for me to make it happen. But I will work with everyone on those, absolutely, just make sure I know about them. Again, I will adjust the test dates if needed. Final exam is going to be cumulative to the entire semester. Again, I grade super heavily on partial credit on this. The final exam will probably be designed to take about 2 hours. I will give you far longer than that if I can, honestly. These are the 2 exam dates, one for each of our sections, and I have a point where to go. This is not good. What's wrong with my brain? Oh. Just a reminder to everyone with regards to these test dates. The semester has been heavily modified so that we wrap up before Thanksgiving and you go home for Thanksgiving and then you stay home until spring starts. Just to make everyone aware when you see these test dates if you hadn't been told that fact yet. So these are like right before Thanksgiving so that you're done, you go home and you can stay there. Whatever format the exam will be, either in person or digital, it'll be designed to take you about 2 hours and that will give you much longer than that to be able to finish it in. Cool? And same resources as on a test, like formula sheet calculator, all of that. Overall class grade calculated from this rubric. I can help everyone figure out their standing in the class if needed. There's also a grade calculator on Dr. Rodecor's website. And miscellaneous information, again, make sure you can understand how to get a homework answer if you just find it from another source, because if you don't understand it, then it's going to be harder on the test. Please work together as much as you can on things. Honestly, helping each other is a huge asset to you guys, because if one student does understand it, it'll help them understand it even better if they can explain it to somebody else. That said, you can ask me questions anytime. Please email me, call. I'll even give you my number if you need to be able to call me for whatever reason. You can even come by my office if you're here in person. You can find me. Email me any question, anytime. I can respond via email. We can set up like a video call if you're not able to come to campus. I am here to help you. I want to help you. Just tell me all your questions as soon as you have them. I know I make that point a lot, but it's something that repeatedly comes up. And I want to help you all succeed. I know you all have wonderful futures ahead of you. You're planning so many wonderful things. I'm going to help you get through this so that you can continue to make all of that happen. So, that was a whole lot of reading one document for one day. And I'm certainly winded. So, I've actually held you a little longer than I'm supposed to. Terribly sorry about that. Take a paper syllabus if you want one. It's also available on the website. If you wish, you can enough. Please proceed in sort of reverse order out one at a time. I did see one at the end. Was that question?
So is there anything this week, like homework-wise?
I will not make any homeworks due by this Friday. There won't be anything due this Friday because we just spent a whole extra not even really learning physics. So I won't make anything due this week. Make sure you can get signed into the website and then I'll start making things due. Have a wonderful day. Please tell me any questions anytime. I'm looking forward to working with you all. Okay.
And he told me that like he said, I really wanted to do, and I don't know how you feel about that. Because if you want me to be in the lab, that's fine. But if not, I would prefer not to have.
Right. I find it very interesting that he said that because other professors in the past have said it's sort of a combined deal.
Yeah. Because I
Granted,
asked registrar if it was like fine for me not to register for the lab, and they said to ask him. So,
right. The way our system is set up is you're automatically put
Yeah.
into a combo of this lecture and this
Yeah.
lab together. Under normal circumstances, the policy is no to that question.
Yeah.
But we live in weird times, and it's
Yeah.
technically more convenient for everyone if you don't have to come here.
Exactly.
So I will triple check things, but I'm willing to work with you on that.
Okay, and he said like 1 or 2 labs, like the entire semester I could come to, or like however you
Yeah.
want to do it.
If you, having any in is definitely better than none.
Yeah, that's what I was
It would help if I had it, like, who did you have last time?
Dr. Redford.
Okay. If I'm able to talk to him and maybe get, like, whatever chunk was the lab grade from that, that will help my
I think I
calculations.
got, whoever was teaching the lab, I don't remember who it was, but they wouldn't let us leave without getting hundreds on all of the lab grades.
What?
Which is, yeah, they like, he would check it and then like fix it and then like do all that.
What semester was this?
This was spring of
2018?
2018, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was, yeah, spring of 2019 is when I interviewed. I started in fall of 2019,
Yeah,
so that definitely would have been someone I hadn't met before.
yeah. He like would hold us in class and like fix the grade, or like tell us what we needed to fix. So we couldn't leave without getting like at least an A on the lab.
That's an interesting policy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm willing to see what I can do about that. We won't have a real lab for
Yeah.
a couple of weeks anyway,
Yeah.
so we have time to figure it
Okay. I just wanted to let you know, because like,
out. Okay.
we talked about it in March, so.
Okay. Can I also get your name?
Kendall McGeorge.
I don't know yours, yeah. I'm trouble with me normally not being able to see everyone's jaws and everything,
Yeah.
but thank you, Kendall McGeorge.
Yep.
Okay. If I say it while looking at you, it'll help. So, thank you,
Yep.
and I'll see what I can do about
Okay.
that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too.